and we are broke as broke can be.
I'm broke.
Now it's as simple as that. I was fake flexing. I got caught.
Musicians don't make a lot of money in the music industry.
The music industry because there ain't no money in the music industry.
I was thinking like, damn, everybody getting money but me. But nah, everybody look like they got money except me.
Bruh, I'm about to ruin the way you look at rich artists forever. Because the wild part is the Lambo, the chain, the private jet pic that might be the most broke looking thing in the whole video. And I'm not even joking. A lot of that rich look is literally paid for by the same people who keep the artist broke. It's like walking around in a designer outfit that you're still making payments on. So today I'm following the money trail. Not the gossip, not the fan theories, the actual game.
Yeah, boy.
Advances, recoupment, streaming math, who owns what, and why the performer is always last in line to eat. Hot today, invisible tomorrow. So they panic and sign anything. By the end of this, you're gonna understand why fame is the most beautiful cage ever constructed and who's holding the key. Bruh, you ever see an artist with a platinum plaque, designer on, Lambo in the background, and you just assume they up? Yeah, that's exactly what they want you to assume. Because rich in the music business is not a number, it's a look.
I'm broke. Man, listen, this Atlanta record stuff. This ain't my money. These people let me hold it for the videos, for all that. This is not my jury.
It's lighting, it's angles, it's a chain that might be on loan, it's a car that might be leased, it's money that might be prop money. It's a whole movie, and the artist is the main character. And I'm not saying artists never make money. I'm saying the system is set up so the image of wealth travels faster than the actual wealth. So you end up watching somebody win while they're quietly drowning. That's why I'm doing this video different. I'm not doing the usual look who went broke gossip list. I'm following the money trail. I want to know who gets paid first, who gets paid forever, who gets paid even when the artist can't breathe. Because once you understand that, you start seeing the whole industry like a setup. Here's the part people don't want to admit out loud.
Whoa. Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
The label's job is not to make you rich. The label's job is to make you look rich, because perception is currency. If you look like a star, the crowd treats you like a star. Blogs post you like a star. Brands call you like a star. The fans argue for you like a star. And you know what happens next? The business around you gets to eat. So they'll put you in rooms with other famous people. They'll give you the cosigns. They'll attach you to cameras. They'll get you the moment. They'll build the myth. But the myth has a cost. And most of the time, that cost is coming out of your future money. That's why you'll see artists doing the most online. The jewelry, the cars, the vacation posts, the stacks, the I'm him energy. Meanwhile, they're accounting at home like, bro, we behind. Because if you look broke, people treat you broke. Bookings slow down. Respect changes. Even your own friends start acting funny. So artists would rather stay in the illusion than admit they're in trouble. That's why fame is the most beautiful cage ever constructed. It looks like freedom, but it controls everything you do. All right, now we got to talk about the part that ruins the fantasy, the advance. Most people hear advance and think, oh, they gave you a bag, like a gift, like a reward. Nah, an advance is basically a bank loan with a celebrity filter on it. They give you money up front and then they recoup it, which means they take it back off the top of what you earn until they're paid back. And what do they count as what you owe? Studio time, videos, marketing, tour support, sometimes even parts of the lifestyle they told you to show off. So it's like they hand you a suitcase and go, congrats. And you're like, I made it. Then later you find out that suitcase came with a bill inside it. And here's where it gets nasty, because a lot of artists sign these deals when they're broke, like real life, family depending on them, friends depending on them, bills stacked, hungry. So you don't read, you don't negotiate, you don't even understand the language. You just see the number and you sign. That's why I keep saying the first person you hire before you sign anything is a good lawyer. The next person is a lawyer to watch that lawyer, because this paperwork is written like another language on purpose.
You will never get this. You will never get this. La 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 la.
If you need an interpreter for English, you don't need to sign it. And then you look up a few years later like, wait, how am I famous and still broke? You're not broke because you're talentless. You're broke because you're recouped. Now let me give you the cleanest receipt in music history. TLC. These women weren't almost famous. They were unstoppable. Hits, Grammys, fashion influence, stadium energy. One of the biggest groups ever. And then the headline hit. TLC filed for bankruptcy. And when they got on camera, they said it plain. We are broke as broke can be.
We are the biggest selling female group ever. 10 million albums worldwide. We have worked very hard. We have been in this business for 5 years. And we are broke as broke can be. And we're not like trying to be a sad story. If that was the case, we would have been on everybody's talk show talking about how broke we are. We haven't done that. I know it's hard to believe because we've sold so many albums, but it is possible.
Not with budgeting, not with investing. Broke. That's the part that makes regular people glitch. How?
How? Hold on, bro. How?
They sold 10 million albums, and then Left Eye broke down the math like a teacher that's tired of the class. Points, percentages, cost, recoupment, taxes, split it 3 ways, pay everybody around you, and suddenly your multi-platinum moment turns into a number that can't support 3 stars living like the world thinks they live. And this is where the money trail gets disrespectful, because while the artists are counting pennies, the executives are counting bonuses. The system is designed so the artists carry the weight and the companies keep the upside. So when you see TLC say, "We're not trying to be a sad story," that's not drama. That's them exposing the business model. And if TLC can be broke, then I need you to understand what that means for everybody else. All right, now we got to name the real winners, because people keep acting like the artist is the top of the food chain. Nah, the artist is the face of the food chain. Big difference. Here's the hidden vampire list. The people who eat before you even taste your own plate. Manager, lawyer, business manager, accountant, agent, publicist, stylist, glam, security, label, distributor, playlist machine, radio machine, touring machine, promoters, venue cuts. And I'm not saying those jobs don't matter. They do. But the problem is the order. Everybody gets paid like clockwork, and the performer gets paid like in if there's anything left situation. That's why I say the companies get all the gains, the performer pays all the costs, because the business is structured like this.
Savage! I'm a savage! Oh!
First, you create the value, the songs, the image, the emotion, the culture. Then everybody builds their business around your gift. And then you get handed a statement you can't understand, and they tell you, "Trust me." And that's why the industry loves the flex, because the flex distracts you from asking one question: who owns what? If you don't own your masters, somebody else is eating off you forever. If you don't control your publishing, somebody else is eating off you forever. If you don't understand your splits, somebody else is eating off you forever. That's why the artist is the product. You don't get paid because you're famous. You get paid when you own something. And most artists don't. Now let's talk about the modern scam that makes people the most confused. Streaming. Because on the surface, streaming looks fair. If people play your song a lot, you should make a lot. That's what your brain thinks. But the reality is, streaming money is not your popularity equals your payday. Streaming money is your paperwork decides your payday. So when people hear stories like, "I got 1 billion streams," and the money didn't look like 1 billion streams, they think the math is broken. The math isn't broken. The deal is, because the money gets sliced up 100 different ways before it touches the artist. Platform cut, label cut, distributor cut, publisher cut, songwriter cut, producer cut, then your manager and your team. And some of y'all might say, "But wait, if the platform is paying, where is it going?" It's going to the people with leverage, the ones who negotiated, the ones who own the rights, the ones who control catalogs. So the artist ends up looking like a star, sounding like a star, doing star numbers, and still living like a regular person with star problems. And that's why I don't let people shame artists for getting brand deals. Brand deals, touring, partnerships, that's where a lot of the real coin is.
Here comes the money.
Here we go.
Money talk. Here comes the money. Because the music itself, the thing the fans think is the money, is often the smallest piece for the performer. That's why the industry is basically trying to turn artists into content creators. Drop, drop, drop. Feed the machine. Because the machine gets paid when you feed it. Now, let me tell you the part that's psychological, the part that keeps people trapped, even when they know they're trapped. Fame is the most beautiful cage ever constructed. Because once the world thinks you're rich, you can't afford to look broke. Not socially, not mentally, not even spiritually. And this is where your brain gets hijacked. Because the industry is hot and cold. 1 minute you're trending, next minute you're invisible. The same way I be feeling about my views sometimes, not gonna lie. That inconsistency makes you chase validation. It makes you spin to prove something. It makes you rent a lifestyle to protect your ego.
I'm stronger. I'm smarter. I'm better.
So you buy things you can't afford. You keep an entourage you can't afford. You keep doing rich activities because you don't want to go back to being regular. And now you're in the cage. The cage is not fame itself. The cage is the pressure to perform success even when the money isn't there. That's why you see fake flex moments. That's why you see prop money. That's why you see people fronting like they on private jets when they in first class.
The internet exploded.
I got caught. Yeah. As simple as that. I was fake flexing. I got caught. No, I was not a coach. I was on a Delta flight in first class. Can't explain it enough. Didn't think nothing of it. Like I did, like saw the picture. I said, I'm about to post this because I don't want people to know how I'm moving.
Right.
And I posted it just to try to derail people. On this particular day, I posted. I'm like, cool. I can go to sleep now. People don't know. They think I'm on this and I'm not on here. I'm throwing everybody off.
Somebody actually followed you. Somebody's on the plane.
What we say about them phones? Got me, posted it, and I just had to own up to it. Like, y'all got me. Okay. You know how many rappers lie?
Right.
Y'all caught me one time.
Because the fear of looking broke is scarier than being broke. And that pressure keeps artists signing bad deals again and again.
Sign the contract!
Because they don't want the world to see the truth. The show was expensive and they were the one paying for it. Now here's the uncomfortable part that a lot of stay independent people don't want to talk about. Yes, own your masters. Yes, stay independent as much as possible. That's still the best move for most artists. But ownership alone is not the finish line. Because I know plenty of independent artists who own everything. They got hard drives full of masters, full albums, full catalogs, all owned, and they still broke. Why? Because owning something doesn't matter if you don't know how to exploit it. If all your masters do is sit on a hard drive, that's not ownership, that's storage. Exploiting your catalog means you know how to turn songs into assets, licensing, sync placements, content systems, direct-to-fan sales, bundles, sampling and remix rules, distribution strategy, audience funnels, publishing splits handled correctly. That's why the one-hit wonder might secretly be winning. Because if that one hit is owned right and licensed right, that could pay longer than somebody's whole famous career. So the game isn't just make music, the game is make assets. And the industry doesn't teach artists that, because if you learn that, you become dangerous. All right, now we got to talk about the part that sounds boring, but decides everybody's life. The contract. Because people treat contracts like a formality. Like, yeah, paperwork, whatever, where's my chain? Nah, the contract is the whole song. The contract is the whole career. The contract is the difference between I'm famous and I'm free. And I'm telling you right now, the first person you should hire before you sign anything is a good lawyer. The next person is a lawyer to watch that lawyer, because this industry is full of friendly professionals that somehow represent everybody. They advise you and then go have lunch with the label. And listen, I'm not saying every lawyer is crooked. I'm saying you should treat it like surgery. You don't go to surgery and just hope everybody in the room is honest. You verify, you double check, you get a second opinion. Why? Because these contracts are written like another language on purpose. And the trick isn't just in what's there, it's in what's missing. Missing clauses about ownership, audits, timeline and deliverables, recoupment definitions, approved expenses, marketing spend caps, rights reversions, termination conditions. What happens if your album gets shelved? What happens if you don't want to work with someone anymore? Because the trap isn't always they stole, simple. The trap is you agreed without understanding what you agreed to. So yeah, read the bloody contract.
Read.
And if it feels like you need a translator, walk away. Now let's flip something people love to laugh at. One-hit wonders. The internet treats one-hit wonders like failures. Like, haha, you fell off. But if you're being real, a one-hit wonder with ownership and good licensing might be richer than your favorite superstar who's recouped for 10 years. Because here's what y'all don't realize. Fame isn't the win. Freedom is the win. A one-hit artist might own their publishing, license that song over and over, not have a giant team bleeding them dry, not have the fame cage forcing them to overspend, live a normal life while the asset prints quietly. Meanwhile, the big star is stuck maintaining a lifestyle to prove they still matter. They can't disappear. They can't downsize. They can't go quiet without the machine punishing them. So who really won? The one with the spotlight or the one with the asset? That's why mocking one-hit wonders is kind of backwards. Sometimes they're the smartest ones. They got in, got a win, and got out without selling their soul to the machine. Now let me give credit where it's due. Rihanna outsmarted the industry in a way most artists don't have the patience to do, because she understood something most people refuse to accept. Music fame is not the finish line, it's the billboard. She used music to become a global name. Then she stopped playing the drop albums forever game and went where the ownership is. Beauty, products, equity, a business where the math actually makes sense. And this connects to another truth people don't want to hear. Product outweighs talent. Talent gets you attention. Product keeps paying when the song stops trending. That's why athletes stay rich off shoes. That's why certain artists stay rich off catalogs. That's why the smartest move for a lot of musicians today is building something around the music, a brand, a product line, a direct-to-fan platform, a service, a community, licensing pipelines.
Out of the music industry because ain't no money in the music industry. And I know people might get mad and trip, but I'm just saying, y'all know it's a lot of things that we used to do. It ain't no money, and you know it done tapped out. They trying to figure out how to make money off of streams. When Snoop put a post up, said, man, I sold 1 billion streams. I only made this little money. Where the millions at? We knew where our money from because we had tangible goods. And that's why I got into the product game. We could actually have tangible goods. I told people all the time, product outweighs talent. Product gonna be around when we not here. Michael Jordan is still successful because of the shoes.
Rihanna basically said, I'm not gonna let the industry chew me forever. And she stepped out the cage before the cage could close. And whether you like her music or not, that's a masterclass. So here's the uncomfortable truth. The music industry rewards ownership, leverage, and distribution, not applause. The companies get all the gains, the performers pay all the costs, and the more rich an artist looks, the more likely they're carrying debt to keep the illusion alive. And the scary part is, it might be getting worse. Because if platforms can flood playlists with cheaper content, or AI-assisted acts, or whatever the next wave is, that makes the human performer even more disposable. Which means the only real protection is owning what you can, understanding what you sign, controlling your audience, building assets outside the label's control. So I'm asking you this, when you see an artist flexing hard, do you assume they're winning or do you assume they're trying to survive? And one more, do you think the artist should focus on being famous or focus on building something they actually own? Bruh, when you zoom out, this whole thing is sad and genius at the same time, because the music industry didn't just sell songs, it sold a dream, and then built a business model where the dream costs more than the artist can afford to maintain. That's why the rich look is always so loud. It's not just flexing, it's marketing, it's debt hiding in HD. And I'm not even saying labels are evil like a cartoon. I'm saying incentives don't care about your talent. Incentives don't care about your childhood. Incentives don't care that you slept on the floor for this. The system rewards whoever owns the paperwork and controls the distribution. And if you don't understand that early, you can go platinum and still be broke. You can go viral and still be stressed. You can be famous and still feel trapped. So if you're an artist watching this, take the ego out of it. Read the bloody contract. Hire the lawyer. Hire the lawyer watching the lawyer. And stop confusing fame with freedom. Fame is the most beautiful cage ever constructed. Freedom is when you can disappear for a month and your life doesn't collapse. When your catalog works for you, not the other way around. Now, I want to ask y'all one question that's going to start a fight in the comments. When you see an artist flexing crazy, do you automatically respect them? Or do you assume they're recouped and trying to keep the illusion alive? And if you want the perfect next watch after this, I've got a solid suggestion popping up on your screen right now. Click now, and I'll see you on the next one. Panda out.